Christopher Ekpenyong.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Christopher Ekpenyong, representing the good people and bad of Akwa Ibom State, Northwest. I rise to second the motion for the adoption of the votes and proceedings of 27th April 2021 as so moved. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 27th April 2021 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 27th April 2021 is hereby approved. Letter from Mr. President. Dear Distinguished Senate President, appointment of the Executive Commissioner of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, in accordance with the provision of Section 5, Subsection 1 of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission Act 2018, I write forward for confirmation by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria the appointment of Mr. Kolawole Oladipupo Alabi as Executive Commissioner, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The nominee's CV is attached herewith. It is my hope that the distinguished Senate will consider and confirm the appointment in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the National Blood Service Commission Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Blood Service Commission Establishment Bill 2021, HB 181, first reading.
National Blood Service Commission Establishment Bill 2021, HB 181, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021, SB 211, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021, SB 211, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Aliyu Magatakardawa Mako, Sarkin Yamma Sokoto, on the Real Estate Regulations and Development Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of it.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill 2021, SB 540, first reading.
Real Estate Regulations and Development Bill 2021, SB 540, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Barau Jibrin on the Trade Malpractices Miscellaneous Offences Act, CAP T12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Trade Malpractices Miscellaneous Offences Act, CAP T12, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2021, SB 697, first reading.
Trade Malpractices Miscellaneous Offences Act Cap T12 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 697 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of bill in the name of distinguished Senator Ubasani on the Motor Vehicle Third-Party Insurance Act, CAP M23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Motor Vehicle Third-Party Insurance Act, CAP M23 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 700, first reading.
Motor Vehicle Third Party Insurance Act CAP M23 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 700 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Oyelula Isa Ashiru on the Federal Universities of Technology Act. CAP F23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Universities of Technology Act, CAP F23 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 701, first reading.
Federal Universities of Technology Act CAP F23 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 701 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions on the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act No. 2, 2019 Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Ubasani, Chairman of the Committee on Banking, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Ubasani.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Ubasani, representing Kano Central. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act, No. 2, 2019 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 669. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar, Kwara North. I rise to second that we take the report of the Committee on Banking and Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, Act No. 2, 2019 Amendment Bill, as moved by the Chairman. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. Yeah, you present the report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I remain Senator Obasani representing Kano Central. Mr. President, the Senate at its sitting on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021, read for the second time the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act 2, 2019 Amendment Bill 2021. I refer same to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and other financial institutions for further legislative action. The bill is jointly sponsored by Senator Michael Bamidele and my humble self, Senator Obasani. Mr. President, with your permission, I can go straight to the findings.
Yeah, you may proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee at the end of the analysis and review of stakeholder submission and presentation at the interactive session made the following findings. 1, that the amendment bill is timely in view of the expiration of the tenure of the resolution cost fund. 2, that the resolution cost fund is primary driver of AMCON operations, and with its expiration, the corporation will be unable to meet its obligations and perform its operations. Hence, the extension of the resolution cost fund is necessary. 3, that the corporation should be empowered to assess the special tribunal established by the BOFIA 2020 for dealing with financial-related matters. This will further strengthen the corporation in terms of enforcement and asset recovery, as well as fast-tracking asset recovery-related cases. 4, that the corporation should also be empowered to take possession, manage, foreclose or sell, transfer, assign, or otherwise of asset or property used as a security for eligible banks' assets, among others. This will provide for quicker, easier, and legitimate process of asset disposal. Recommendation. The committee, after painstaking evaluation and analysis of submission, observations, and views expressed in support of the proposed legislation, recommends the adoption of the following as contained in the report attached. Conclusion. The committee wishes to sincerely express its appreciation to the Senate for the opportunity to be served in this capacity. I so submit, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any comments? Leader, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I write to move a motion for this distinguished chamber to resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolves into a Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. There are 6 clauses in the bill. And because the committee has proposed many recommendations, I will go clause by clause. Clause 1. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Yeah, close to DSP.
Mr. President, Uvi Omo Agege Delta Central Central District. Mr. President, I have not had enough time to go through this, but the little I have seen, I'm a little bit concerned. I think I will ask that the chairman should give us some explanations, because the way I see this, they are going in terms of acquisition of properties belonging to the debtor. They're moving beyond the collateral security itself and going after assets other than collateral security. As I understand it, I think the collateral by itself must have been determined by whatever bank that gave the loan at the time as being enough to secure whatever loan was granted. And the essence of collateral is that in the event of default, you lose that asset, which is collateral. But what I'm reading here is that in addition to seizing that asset, they want to go beyond that to every other asset or property that is traceable to the debtor. I think I need some clarifications with that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please, you have heard what the DSP said? Is it the same thing?
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, yes, it's DSP is correct, and we must you must also place an explanation where there are some assets that are not owned. There are two banks. An asset might be, I don't know how they call it. You have a lien, and because of the value of the asset, another bank also probably has a lien or so. I think those are the issues that should be reconciled with that. But this is what DSP is saying is correct on this. You can't go outside the asset that was presented for the facility. You can't.
Distinguished colleagues, Chairman, did you hear what the DSP said? He said, if I got him right, that is like AMCON is going to give in an additional power or some powers to go beyond the confiscation of a feature of the collateral that was the basis for loans or whatever it is. If that's the issue he raised, that is his understanding of the amendment we are seeking in clause 2. So can you explain? Or is
sorry, Mr. Chairman. It says what they're seeking for is powers with acquired title to the eligible bank assets and all assets or property, tangible or intangible, belonging to, trace to, and in which the debtor has interest in, whether or not such assets or property is used as security for the eligible bank assets and the corporation. So I think you can't go beyond the asset that was tendered as the collateral for the facility.
Chairman, is there anybody to explain this thing, please? Any committee member? Okay. Senator Aliru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. Almain Muhammad Adam Aliru. Mr. Chairman, if you could recall, during the debate on this bill, senators made it abundantly clear that these debtors are taking government money and they are using it freely and they are going scot-free. And we need stringent measures to be enforced in order to recover the money. And that's why this recommendation came up at the committee level.
Distinguished colleagues, let me say this, please. Let me say this. This is not where we debate this. It's going to be voting, not debate. That is the point at which we are. It's not second reading. It's either you vote for this amendment or you vote against it. No. At this, it depends on what the committee feels about it. If the committee feels they will withdraw it, that is their. right to withdraw. But it's not debate. We are not going to debate it. It's not second reading, please. It's just for the... Who is going to explain? Senator Opeyemi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent the Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. Chairman, I am speaking to the legislative intent as one of the sponsors of this bill and as a member of the committee. Distinguished Senator Alero laid the basis. And of course, the whole issue here is to give AMCON some authority that will enhance its ability to deliver on its mandate. The law had always been what is being argued here. But AMCON had not achieved anything with this. So the essence of introducing this is to be able to say, if you took a loan and you refuse to perform on this loan, AMCON should be able to attach any property that is traceable to you in overriding national interest. Well, Mr. Chairman, here is the point. We have an AMCON that has been able to back, but that cannot bite. I'm surprised that this is an issue in Nigeria. What happens all over the civilized world is that organizations that are similarly situated, when they take you to court and you are even detained, as a condition for your bail, you have to even put down half of the amount that you are owing. We must be able to take some drastic... If you are not going to, if you don't want this, then don't commit the offense. Don't take fund and refuse to pay. This is supposed to be, something that will discourage people from doing the conventional thing. But it's up to the Senate in its wisdom to take a decision on this. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, please, we are not going to debate this. It's not debate. The committee has explained. It's either you vote for it or you vote against it. That's all. We don't go beyond. It's not second reading. So, clause 2, I'm going to put the question. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Clause 3, Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. Mine is to, reading this clause, the use of the word discretion, I think to me is worrisome, because the corporation is in exercise of its discretion. We didn't give the corporation discretion. What we gave them is a function and a power to do that, to exercise that mandate. So I don't know whether there is a reason why the use of the word discretion is. Otherwise, I thought this corporation is exercise of its mandate. Sir?
Chairman, please explain. Can you respond to this? The use of the word discretion.
Mr. President, I want to look at which line is that? Let me just explain the clause 3. Clause 3, Mr. President, is a very straightforward clause. Here in this chamber, we passed Bonfare 2020, and the essence of that Bonfare is to assist not only AMCON, but all banks in Nigeria to be able to recover loans. And the essence of Bonfare is this clause. We have already created credit tribunal in the Bonfare. We are only saying that AMCON can approach the tribunal because they're having a lot of problems in normal courts, but with the tribunal now in place, they can approach tribunal and the case can end within 6 months. That is all. It's a straightforward process. Thank you, sir.
And is to also further leave it, is to also ensure that we do not fetter the discretion of having to decide whether to go to the conventional court or go to the tribunal. Is to leave it open.
It's giving AMCOM a choice either to go with the regular tribunals or go to. Okay, you still want to amend it? So you have no problem with that? Okay, we go and vote. We vote for it. We vote. They have explained. Okay, what do you want to amend?
What I'm saying is the use of may already shows that there's discretion. So I thought it should be the corporation in exercise of its mandate. Yes, so the exercise of its mandate, because you said may. So I thought we should use mandate there rather than discretion.
Senator Balanala.
When in law you donate power to an individual, you take away discretion. But when you donate power to a corporation, it becomes discretionary. The assumption is that 2 heads are better than 1. So at the meeting of the corporation, they will decide which action to take. And that's why the use of the word discretion is there. Whenever you are donating power to a corporation, then you have to put the discretion, it has to be discretionary.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clause 4. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clause 5. Clause 5 is retained, no change. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clause 6. Clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. The short title. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. The long title. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, point of order. Yes, sir. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, the primary responsibility of a parliament is to make very good laws that can actually stand the test of time, Mr. President. I believe, I have the conviction, Mr. President, because I want to go back to section 2, Mr. President. So I'm calling a point of order on order 73, Mr. President. Any senator may challenge the opinion of the president or the chairman by claiming a division. I want to raise a point of order on that section, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President.
What are you challenging?
President, I believe that where ANCON comes in that section is that ANCON is not the primary lender, and it is the responsibility. I should do what? I should stop.
What I'm asking you is, Are you challenging the ruling that the ayes had it? Sorry? Oh, the ayes had it. So you are not challenging the ruling? Oh, that was your opinion. But in my judgment and understanding, and I'm the only one by the grace of God that has the gavel, and my understanding was the ayes had it. And I believe that this is, if you didn't get it your way today, you might have had it all the way for you, and you may have it on your side too. I think we should be very magnanimous when we do this exercise. This is something that majority of our colleagues have voted for. Let's allow this thing to be implemented. If there is any difficulty, they come back. This is something that can be challenged. But if at any given time that you feel you didn't get the ruling on your side, you will say cause division.
The issue is this is subject to a challenge for a court of law, because if I'm a debtor and I tendered a collateral for a facility with the original bank, I have signed everything that has to do with that collateral. You cannot go beyond the context of that collateral, Mr. President. Yes, you can't. It will be challenged.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, distinguished Albert Basi. Let me say this, please. You know, please, can we listen, please? You know, when we come to legislate, we all come here with very clear mind that we are doing this for our country. We don't have any interest but the national interest. And when majority of our colleagues here, in their judgment, feel that this is the right thing to do, let me say, at the risk of being misinterpreted, even if it is the wrong view, that's the majority view. Unless we have any cause to reverse ourselves. But if the majority of senators said this is what they feel should be done to remedy a situation that requires our attention, I think we should allow that. And besides, we had explanations from the committee members who went through all the processes, took the stakeholders on and so on and so forth. So I believe that we should let it go. Let the people go to court to test it. But our hope and desire is for AMCON to be able to recover huge sums of money, trillions, that people have taken and now is on the head of Nigerians. And what is happening is criminal, really. It's criminal. People who consciously take money. Yeah, so I would advise that we stick with our decision. Let the courts make their judgment when or if someone goes to court. But I believe that we should respect the majority view of our distinguished colleagues.
You see, Mr. President, this is a very, very important legislation. And if after putting all the efforts we have put, we create a window where these people will escape, I think we have not been thorough enough. Section 4, sir, talks about transferring an equitable title. James Manager will tell you in jurisprudence, an equitable title is an incorrect title. And therefore, you cannot transfer it. And then it going further to talk about
documentation, registrable. We already have a definition of registrable instrument under our law. And then this law didn't say, notwithstanding the provision of that law, which means they are going to exist side by side. And in court, qui est pocho est jure. Meaning even the law that came first, which is known to all the registrable districts, will take precedence over this one when they are in conflict. So we have to put at least a clause to say, notwithstanding the provision contained in any other law, so that this one can take effect. But if we leave it like this, sir, I might consider not coming back to the Senate and take 1 or 2 briefs.
Well, Mr. Chairman, again, Michael Okoyemi, Bamidele, representing the Central Senatorial District. Mr. Chairman, I totally agree with distinguished Senator Nala on that point, and he may as well just oblige us with a quick draft that will be considered. But the reason I raised my hand, sir, is that I believe my privilege as a sponsor, a co-sponsor of this bill, is under threat if a very important proviso, which have been part of the bill, I don't know the reason why it was removed by the secretariat of the committee, and that would have lessened the, in fact, there would have been no need for the argument, because there are 2 categories of debt carried by AMCON, inherited by AMCON. About 70% are conventional loans, and they are going after people who took loans and refused to pay. But 30% of AMCON debt profile has to do with margin facilities. Margin facilities. So the proviso, sir, the proviso, which I will read out, and is for us to take a decision here, because we also must protect the public. I say provided that the provisions of subsection 1A and 1B of this Act shall not apply to debts owed in connection with margin facilities for the purchase of stocks, in respect of which the debtor had only been obliged to make equity contribution at the time of such purchase, except where the securities are expressly pledged in the terms of the binding agreement between the parties. That is an important proviso. Okay, sir.
Senator Opeyemi, I sympathize with you. I thought this kind of intervention should have been made at the appropriate time and moment when we are going to pass that clause. But now, you know, we have already passed that stage. Point of order, Senator Utazi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Senator Chukwuka Utazi, and I represent the good people of Enugu State, Enugu North of Enugu North Central District of Enugu State. My point of order is Order 43, personal explanation. And I take it as right that you know what a personal explanation is. It is my right as an elected member of these chambers. Mr. Chairman, I want to explain that the issue bordering on the duties of and powers of AMCON to recover bad debts passed on by the banks that gave such loans should not be allowed the way things are here. One is this. The reason why I'm saying so, Mr. Chairman, is that most of the banks that have those bad debts colluded with those customers in doing that in the first place. Because before you go out to go and take a property, a collateral, before you want to take a collateral.
I don't know what the intervention you are seeking would achieve, because, please, let me, it's a point of order. We have already passed the bill, What I want to know is this point of order you have raised. What do you want us to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before me, a senator by my side here has asked for division on this issue. And because of that division, we have been talking on this issue. And I want to give explanation so that you understand the reason why people are, those of us who are opposing, that the ANCON should have this overriding power should not do so. Because we should not allow the banks that colluded with customers to take a bad collateral. At the end of the day, pass it on, and then they want to suffer. They know it. They should, before a bank gives a loan to any person, they have to check the character of such a person. If you go and just give a loan to anybody, at the end of the day, you want to come and say, take everything. It is wrong. It's totally wrong. It's totally wrong, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Your point of order is noted. Point of order, Senator Sekibo.
Mr. President, I'm Senator George Thompson Sekibo, Rivers East. Order 53-6. 53-6. And after reading, you give me just one minute to make some explanations. Yeah, it shall be out of order to reconsider any specific question upon which the Senate has come to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a substantive motion for the session. Mr. Chairman, when an issue is raised, you raise the question. Somebody at that point, if you need a division actually, and the vote is taken, you take a division immediately. But when you've gone to another clause, and we are reaching the end of the consideration, they now bring up an issue. It is out of order. You have to come to it by a substantive motion for decision. That is our rules. And then all the discussion we are making on it now is of no value. They are not even supposed to be recorded because we already considered it and we have come to the end of it. It may be wrongly or rightly, but we have handed it.
Thank you very much, Senator Sekibo. Your point of order is sustained. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for this chamber to resume plenary to allow the chairman to report progress. I so move.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to gladly second this motion that will revert to plenary to report progress.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act No. 2, 2019, Amendment Bill 2021, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I move to raise a motion for the bill Amendment Bill, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, Act Number 2019 Amendment Bill 2021 be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that's moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the bill be now read a third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act Number 2, 2019, to extend the tenure of the resolution cost fund, grant access to the special tribunal established by banks and other financial institutions Act 2020, and to confer on it the powers to take possession, manage, foreclose or sell, transfer, assign or otherwise of asset or of property used as security for eligible bank asset and for other matters 2021 SB 669, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act Number 2, 2019 to extend the tenure of the resolution cost fund, grant access to the special tribunal established by the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020, and to confer on it the powers to take possession, manage, foreclosure or sell, transfer, assign or otherwise of asset or property used as security for eligible bank assets and for other matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Finance on the 2021 budget of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekan Adiola to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report.
Distinguished Senator Adiola Solomon Olamilekan, Lagos West, the largest senatorial district in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, very distinguished colleague. May I move that this Senate do receive the report of the 2021 budget of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so move.
I need a seconder. Why is Senator Barrow Jibrin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin, I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I stand to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman Finance Committee. Mr. President, I say second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on Finance, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. You may present the report now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamilekan, representing Lagos West Senatorial District, the largest senatorial district in Nigeria. Mr. President.
Senator Olamilekan, you are protected indeed.
Is the largest. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the report of the Senate Committee on Finance on the 2021 budget of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. 1.0 Introduction. The National Assembly approved the total sum of the National Assembly. No, that
Section 15 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act provides that a percentage of determined by the National Assembly of the oil and gas revenue collected by the service may be appropriated by the National Assembly for the capital and recurrent expenditure of the service. Membership, that is 2.0. 2.0 as well, the budget hearing and session. The committee engaged the leadership of the management of FRS to a budget hearing session on Tuesday, 2nd February 2021. At the session, the executive chairman of FRS, Mr. Mohammed Nami, made a presentation of the 2021 budget performance and justification for 2020 budget performance and justification for the 2021 budget proposal as it relates to revenue and expenditure of the FRS. The review of the 2020 budget performance. Mr. President, in the performance of the 2020 fiscal year, which is stated in 3.0 of the report, clearly shows the total collection for the year as against the budgeted and the approved, and the budgeted figure was 5.07 trillion that is allotted to the FRS, and the actual achieved is 4.950 trillion, and all other revenue estimates are stated in the 2020 budget performance. During the year under review, the services achieved a total revenue collection of 4.95 trillion in 2020 as against the budgeted figure of 5.076 trillion, representing about 98% out of the total collection of 4.950 trillion. The non-oil and the oil component contributed 3.53 trillion and 1.5 trillion respectively. Consequently, the cost of collection of 4% net and of 2% National Customs Service VAT of 130.4.5 billion was achieved against the budgeted figure of 180.76 billion to find the three operational expenditure head for the year. Out of the approved budgeted expenditure of 168.81 billion, the services expended the sum of 123.79 billion across the three expenditure heads. Furthermore, the sum of 83.70 billion and 34.57 billion was expended in personnel and overhead costs as against a sum of 97.36 billion and 43.64 billion respectively. Also, the sum of 5.15 billion was expended on capital items against the budgeted sum of 27.80 billion. The 2021 budget. The primary objective of this budget is to reposition the service towards achieving its optimal assessment and collection of taxes revenue for the government. The budget is prepared on a zero-based budgeting principle. Assumption 1, that is 4.1. The budget is predicated on the following assumption. There will be a marginal reduction in the taxable income of taxpayers due to the effect of COVID-19 pandemic. 2, exception of some categories of taxpayers from payment of tax as enshrined in the 2019-2020 Finance Act with impact on revenue collection. 3, there will be an increase in oil production during the year. The cost of collection of the service will be 4% of the non-oil revenue. An adoption of the medium-term expenditure framework of the federal government, and no recruitment in the year 2021. Strategy for achieving this proposed budget. 1, the service seeks to continuously improve its technology for automated tax collection across all sectors of the economy through e-filing, e-registration, e-payment, etc. to facilitate the ease of doing business with taxpayers. 2, introduction of measures to increase tax audit and enforcement activities nationwide. 3, intensify taxpayers' education and engagement with a view to improving the compliance with tax laws. 4, get closer to taxpayers by opening of new offices in selected business districts across the country. 5, expand the already existing synergy with the State Internal Revenue Service for easy reconciliation. Provision of adequate working tools and conducive working environment for staff. Increase the capacity of staff through structured training and payment of staff entitlement as at when due, including performance incentive and reward for hard work. Mr. President, 4.3 align the proposed 2021 budget as earlier mentioned by me. This year, we are looking at a total collection of about 5.90 trillion naira with the 4% cost of collection maintained. And also, we are looking at if they could achieve this target, their budget proposal of 180.76 billion will be increased to 216.65 billion. The service is proposing a total sum of collection of 7.6061 trillion against the budgeted of 5.076 trillion in 2020, representing about 49.90 increase above the corresponding year's budget. Out of the proposed total collection of 7.61 trillion, non-oil and oil components are expected to contribute 5.645 trillion and 1.9464 trillion. Consequently, the cost of collection of 4% net, the cost of collection of 4% net of 2% custom service VAT is projected as 216.65 billion against the budgeted of 180.76 billion in 2020. To fund the three expenditure head for the year. Out of this proposed expenditure of 216.65 billion across the three expenditure head, the sum of 10.52 billion and 47.22 billion are to be expended on personnel and overhead costs. Overhead cost against 2020 budget of 97.36 billion and 43.64 billion respectively. The proposed increase in personnel and overhead costs are as a result of increase in staff size and the provision of office working tools and other consumables for service-wide office. Also, the sum of 61.9 billion is estimated to be expended on capital items against the budgeted sum of 27.80 billion in 2020. The sum is to cater for the ongoing and new project for effective revenue drive. Observation. The committee observed as follows. 1. The cost of collection to the service at 4.4% of the non-oil revenue. 2. There will be a marginal reduction in the tax income of taxpayer due to effect of COVID-19 pandemic. 3. The service seeks to continuously improve the technology for automated tax collection across sectors of the economy through e-filing, e-registration, e-payment, etc. to facilitate ease of doing business with taxpayer. And 4. No recruitment for the year. 5. The exception of some category of taxpayer from payment of tax as enshrined in the 2019 and 2020 Finance Act will impact on revenue collection. 6. Intensify taxpayer education and engagement with a view to improving the compliance with the tax law. Recommendation. The committee recommends to the Senate that a total expenditure of 216,579,231 be approved for the service to fund the proposed personnel, overhead and capital expenditure costs of the service during the 2021 fiscal year. Conclusion. The committee expressed deep appreciation to the Senate for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any comments? Senator Barrow Jibril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibril, I represent Kano North. Mr. President, let me commend the Committee on Finance, chaired by Senator Solomon Olamide Konyayi, and indeed FIRS for doing a good job. FIRS is doing very well. This is because its revenue projection for last year was 5.076 trillion, but it actualized the amount of 4.950 trillion, which is 97.51% of the budgeted revenue. This is really a wonderful achievement. And I'm sure that The committee also did a wonderful job by doing a proper oversight. And that the combination of all these factors made this possible. So I want to commend the committee as well, commend the FRS, and urge the committee to continue to do proper oversight so that the revenue project for this year will be realized, just like what happened in 2020. I say submit business.
Distinguished colleagues, you want to make comment? Okay, Senator Francis Alimekana.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Francis Alimekana, representing Edo North. Mr. President, I have observation that I want the chairman to clear. He said the cost of collection 4% net and 2% Nigeria Customs Service VAT is 130.something billion. In the last presentation of custom budget, they said 2% collection of the VAT from FRS was 350 billion, which they collected. I see that own is now 130 billion. There must be some, I want the chairman to clear, because the customer said 2% VAT they collected is 350 billion. And FRS are saying that they collected the 2% collection of custom is 130 billion.
Okay, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague. I equally observe what the chairman, Senate Committee on Custom have said. Mr. President, the figure is referring to is the 2020 budget. That will be this budget performance of the FRS. And the rule is here. FRS collect the VAT, custom after they have calculated their own cost of collection of 4%, still go ahead and collect 2% from FIRS revenue to be paid to custom office. And the issue of 130 they have expressed here, that is the figure that FRS have generated. And it's a previous year figure, not 2021 figure.
Thank you very much. If there is no other comment, we go to the recommendation. Recommendation. Observation. We don't have observation, but if you want to comment, you can comment.
Mr. President, my name is Senator Francis Fadansi from Osu. When we were presenting the budget of custom the other time, I stood up to praise the committee. You shut me down. Jubri is the Senator Jubri. Isa Jubri is the vice chairman. Isa Jubri. Okay. Sorry.
What happened? Oh. Oh, okay. Distinguished colleagues, we go to the recommendation on page 8. And there is only one recommendation. The Senate Committee recommends to the Senate that a total expenditure of 216,646,579,231 naira only be approved for the service to fund the proposed personnel, overhead and capital expenditure costs of the service during the 2021 fiscal year. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Honorable Justice Sadisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Distinguished senators will recall that the request of Mr. President Commander-in-Chief was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 21st April 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of the nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi as the Chief Judge for the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Mr. President, I so move.
I need a seconder. Why is Senator Ebizim? Francis. Senator James Manager.
Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Chairman of the Committee of the Wise. Thank you, Mr. President.
Which committee did you say? We have not yet reviewed or amended our standing orders. Okay, thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. Chairman, we're waiting for you, please. You may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to present the report of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. The Senate, at its plenary sitting on Tuesday, 20th April 2021, considered the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the confirmation of nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge, High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. This appointment became necessary as a result of the retirement of Honorable Justice Ishaq Usman Bello after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 65 years, as provided by Section 291, Subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as altered. In compliance with constitutional requirements, the erstwhile Chief Judge retired on 5th January 2021, thus making the position of Chief Judge of the FCT High Court vacant. After consideration of Mr. President's request, the Senate, in its wisdom, referred it to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action and to report back with its recommendation. For the avoidance of doubt, this appointment was made pursuant to Section 256 of Section 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1991 as amended, which requires that the appointment of a person to the office of Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory shall be made by the President on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council
subject to confirmation of such nomination by the Senate. It is in line with this provision that the appointment of the nominee was forwarded to the Senate. It should be noted, for the purpose of emphasis, that Honorable Justice Salisu Abdullahi is the most senior judge on the bench of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. He was recommended in order of seniority and preference by the Federal Judicial Service Commission to the National Judicial Council for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge, High Court of the FCT, Abuja. Mr. President, I seek your indulgence to skip the rest since our distinguished colleagues have copies and just go straight to our findings and observations. Thank you, sir. Observations and findings. The committee, after the screening exercise, deliberated on the nominee's suitability for the appointment and hereby make the following observations and findings. 1, that the appointment of the nominee satisfies the requirements of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as altered, and the Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended. 2, that Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi has a wide range of experience, comportment, exposure, and possesses the requisite leadership qualities of a judicial officer to effectively superintend over a court of such magnitude and complexity, and can exercise restraint and uphold the dignity of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and the litigants in the discharge of its official functions. 3, that there is no petition against the nomination of the nominee for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge of the High Court of the FCT, Abuja. 4, that he was appointed as the acting Chief Judge of the court on 6 January 2021, a position he held until his appointment by Mr. President as the substantive Chief Judge of the court. 5, that there are no adverse reports against the nominee, as record checks and other forms of investigations carried out by security agencies did not reveal any negative trace against him. 6, that the nominee is a fit and proper person for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Our recommendation. The Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, having screened the nominee and being satisfied about his exposure, experience, performance, qualifications, and competence, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Mr. President, I so move.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate. Senator Gabriel Sosom.
Mr. President, my name is Dr. Gabriel Sosom, Benue Northeast. Mr. President, as a member of the committee, just to emphasize what the chairman have presented to this House. Here is a gentleman who is not only the most senior judge in the court, but he has exhibited all that needs for him to be so appointed and confirmed by this hallowed chambers as the chief judge of that court. Complete gentleman, eminently qualified to occupy that position. More so given the fact that Abuja is a very cosmopolitan city, we need somebody with the kind of comportment that has been exhibited by this gentleman. And so, Mr. President, I believe that my colleagues, honorable members of these chambers, will go ahead without any hesitation in confirming this gentleman as the Chief Judge of Abuja Federal High Court.
The DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Uvi Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I want to join Senator Suswan in commending the chairman and members of the committee for a terrific job they've done with respect to the screening and recommendations to this plenary. Moving from there, I also want to thank Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for making this nomination. Mr. President, I know Justice Abdullahi. I've known him for years. He has the comportment, the intellect, and more important than that, he has the wisdom to guide the FCT judiciary to his length. And he's very, very well learned, very educated. He's contributed so much to our jurisprudence. Mr. President, I joined the committee in supporting this nomination. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, I don't want to, I think we should just go to the committee of the whole to confirm him. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion for this distinguished Senate to resolve into the committee of the whole to consider this report.
The acting minority leader.
Mr. President, Senator Chukwutazi, I rise to second. The motion has moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report of our Committee on Judiciary, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate Chief Whip. You can sit down and, yeah. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federation? It's supposed to be Federal Capital. Somebody wrote Federation. Of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Those in favor will say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for this chamber to resume plenary for the chairman to report progress. I so move.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Mr. President's nominee for appointment as the Chief Judge for the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and approved the nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi as the Chief Judge for the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi for appointment as the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Honorable Justice Salisu Garba Abdullahi is hereby confirmed as the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, ANPA, Establishment, etc. Bill 2021. The distinguished senator will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 8 December 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Ahmed Babba Keita, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation of the and consideration of the report.
Senator Betty Apiafi, I don't want to present. Okay, Senator Betty Apiafi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, before I start, I want to seek your leave to take the order number 4 and 5 together, so I can lay the reports together, if you approve.
You may proceed.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, ANPA, Establishment Bill 2021, SB 147. Mr. President, I also move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund from the Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba, Establishment Bill 2021. I'm standing on behalf of the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund, Senator Ahmed Babba Keita. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, I need a seconder. Senator Ayo Akin-Yalure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akin-Yalure. I write to second the motion as moved by Senator Betty. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, I thought, did you consider all the three of them? You mentioned all the three? You mentioned the two reports. Okay, let me put the question first. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of our Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may lead the reports. You may present the reports.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I seek your leave once again to present a very brief report on the two bills. Most of our colleagues already have copies of the bills, so I'll just state the core objective of the first bill, which is the bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, ANPA. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the main objective is to provide for the establishment of a Federal University of Education, ANCPA, to take over the assets and liabilities, including staffs of Kogi State College of Education, ANCPA, to provide it for the training and teaching, to provide for the training and teaching of the institution in every aspect of education and for the other fields of applied learning relevant to the needs and development of education in Nigeria. Recommendation. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund, to which this bill was referred to, having carefully considered same, hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill to upgrade College of Education ANCPA to a full-fledged Federal University of Education ANCPA, Bill 2020 as recommended. Conclusion. On behalf of the chairman of this committee, we wish to use this opportunity to thank the Senate President and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move. Mr. President, can I present the second? Mr. President, the second bill is the Federal University of Agriculture, CABA.
I think you give us a minute so that we get copies of the second report. Huh? Chairman, you can go ahead.
Colleagues, the second bill is for the Federal University of Agriculture, CABA Establishment Bill 2021, SB 282. Mr. President, the main objective of this bill is to develop and for the institution to develop and offer academic and professional program leading to award of degrees, postgraduate degrees, diplomas in research with emphasis as planning, adaptive, technical, maintenance, livestock, aquatic, horticulture, etc. The committee, after the public hearing, recommends that the Senate consider and pass the bill for the upgrade of the College of Agriculture, CABA, to a full-fledged Federal University of Agriculture to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration. The bill is recommended by the committee. Conclusion. I wish to thank the President of the Senate once again and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass the bill. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, any comments? Otherwise, Leader, Committee of the Whole.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise a motion for the Senate to resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider this report.
Acting Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports of our Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the These are not controversial bills. They are just establishing institutions, and almost all the clauses shall be retained by our committee. So I will be a little bit fast. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those in favor that clauses 5, 6, 7, and 8 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 9, 10, 11, and 12. Those in favor that clauses 9, 10, 11, and 12 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 13, 14, 15, and 16. Those in favor that clauses 13, 14, 15, and 16 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Those in favor that clauses 17, 18, 19, and 20 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those in favor that clauses 21, 22, 23, and 24 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 25, 26, 27, and 28. Those in favor that clauses 25, 26, 27, and 28 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 29 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The short title. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The shadows. Those in favor that all the shadows stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum remains part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. And the long title. Those who are at the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. That is the first report. The second report is on Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba. This is Kogide. Kaba. We are finished with Angpa. We are going to Kaba. It's the same thing with this report. The bill has 29 clauses, and those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 5, 6, 7, and 8 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 9, 10, 11, and 12. Those in favor that clauses 9, 10, 11, and 12 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 13, 14, 15, and 16. Those in favor that clauses 13, 14, 15, and 16 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 17, 18, 19, and 20. Those in favor that clauses 17, 18, 19, and 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those in favor that clauses 21, 22, 23, and 24 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 25, 26, 27, and 28 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. That's clause 28. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules on page 21 to 36 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The long title on page 1. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
I rise to move a motion for the Senate to revert to plenary to allow the chair to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now move to plenary to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Education (ANCPA) Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clauses as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Also, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Agriculture (CABA) Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clauses as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Of the Senate.
For the Act establishing the Federal University of Education, ANCPA, Federal University of Agriculture, CABA, to also be read for the third term. I also move.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President.
No, sorry. Minority Leader, sorry.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the Senate Leader that the third reading of the bills do take place. I so second.
Clerk of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the two bills be now read a second time, say aye. Third time, sorry. Let me put it again. Maybe it's a season of... Those in favor that the two bills be now read a third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate, the two bills.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, ANCPA, Kogi State, and for related matters 2021, SB 146, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba, to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2021, SB 282, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, ANCPA, Kogi State, and for related matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Also, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. Congratulations to our colleagues from Kogi State. Today is Kogi Day. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the consideration of the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions. In respect of A, petition from Mr. Kingsley Toru on behalf of Riverman Technologies Limited against Department of Petroleum Resources for no payment of the sum of 9,375,616,700 for contract executed. B, petition from Mr. Olanian Shehu Muhib and other affected staff of Digital Bridge Institute against the Institute for non-implementation of the directive of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as regards the staff of the Institute whose appointments were terminated in March 2019. C, petition from Mr. Isa Usman Kunini on behalf of 126 retired officers of the Nigerian Post Authority, NPA, against the Nigerian Post Authority, NPA, for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100% of 280% of their gratuity benefit by the authority since 2018. And D, petition from Atasi Nwos Esquire on behalf of the Deputy Controller of Customs, Idris Aloma Zamdai, against Nigerian Customs Service for unlawful dismissal from service. Mr. President, distinguished senators will recall that the reports were laid on Tuesday, 11th February 2021, Wednesday, 14th October 2020, and Wednesday, 17th March 2021, respectively. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name remains Senator Yoakin Elo, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do consider the reports of Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition in respect of A, petition from Mr. Kingsley Toru on behalf of Riverman Technologies Limited against the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, for non-payment of the sum of 9,375,616,700 naira for contract executed. B, petition from Mr. Olani Yashewu Muib and other affected staff of Digital Bridge Institute, DBI, against the Institute for non-implementation of the directives of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SDF, as regards the staff of the Institute whose appointments were terminated in March 2019. C, petition from Mr. Isa Usman Quini on behalf of 126 retired officers of Nigerian Post Authority, NPA, against the Nigerian Port Authority NPA for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100% of 280% of their gratuity benefit by the authorities since 2018. And finally, petition from Otosi Nwosu Esquire on behalf of Deputy Controller of Customs, TC Idris Aloma, Zamdai, against the Nigerian Customs Service for unlawful dismissal from service. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Francis Chukuma Ibezum, Imo North, you may second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I stand to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of our Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may let the report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Yoakim. Reports of Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of a petition from Mr.
Chairman, when you pick, you tell us which report you are presenting so that we follow you.
$375,016,700 for contract executed. Background. The Senate will recall that on Wednesday, 29 September 2020, Senator Yoakim rose on Order 41 and presented a petition referred to his committee from the office of the President of the Senate, and drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Mr. Kingsley Toro on behalf of Riverman Technologies Limited against the Department of Petroleum Resources (DPR) for non-payment of the sum of $9,375,616,700 naira only for contract executed, and urge the Senate to look into the matter. Mr. President, after careful study of this petition, we invited both the petitioners and the respondents and the committee of the Senate come with the following observation and findings. Let's go to page. Observation and findings on page 5.0. After careful studying the submissions and oral presentations of the petitioner and respondent, having been provided with full answers to all questions raised by the committee noted as follows. 1. The Riverman Technology Limited was actually awarded the contract to design, procure, install, and commission a system that will facilitate the remote monitoring of natural gas production volumes in real time from facilities operated by oil and gas companies, mostly foreign companies in Nigeria. 2. The Riverman Technology Limited actually completed 116 sites. Out of 136 sites, they were engaged to cover by DPR. 3. That though the Department of Petroleum Resources DPR claimed that the contractor RUTL was incompetent for not executing the contract to the fullest, the committee found that it was DPR that was actually incompetent, not Riverman Technologies Limited. The committee discovered that DPR not only approved the job done by RUTL, but EU performance certificate to RUTL, and on the basis of the certificate paid them and gave them approval to commence the next phase of contract from phase 1 to phase 2, until all 3 phases were almost completed, mostly awaiting finishing touches. Number 4, that the committee was amazed that a contractor DPR found incompetent was allowed to finish phase 1, commended and paid and allowed to complete phase 2, and certified it okay, and gave part payment and allowed it to commence phase 3. that when asked to explain why it did not implement the resolution of the Senate, DPR kept insisting that it was only phase 1 that was completed and that the contractor should refund money for phase 2 and 3 already paid, to which it gave approval and paid for in parts. 6, that when pressed further by the committee to explain why it paid for phase 2 and 3 in parts, when it was sure that work had not been done, DPR said it was the Ministry of Petroleum Resources that gave the approval for payment, while DPR, which was charged with the duty of monitoring and reporting on whether work done was satisfactory or not, did not raise any formal objection to approvals made by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and paid. Recommendation. Based on the findings above, the committee hereby recommends as follows: that the Department of Petroleum Resources DPR have failed to implement the resolution of 8th Senate on this matter. Now be urged to pay Riverine Technology Limited the sum of 9,375,660,700 only for work done. 2, that in view of the dwindling revenue of the federal government to finance its annual budget leading to deficit budgeting, the Senate further urged the DPR to recall Riverman Technology Limited RT back to site to complete the phase 2 and 3 of the project to enhance the real-time capturing of gas production volume by local and foreign firms, which will significantly improve the revenue of the federal government of Nigeria. And finally, number 3, however, in addition, the Senate further urged the DPR to pay 10% interest of the outstanding principal of 9.3 billion, which translates to 937,561 937,661,670 naira for delayed payment of the principal sum since Thursday, 30th May 2019, when the Senate resolved that Riverine Technology be paid if the contract of RTA will not be renewed for it to complete phase 2 and 3 of the project in line with the terms of the contract executed by RTA.
Chairman, next time maybe we should be going straight to the findings and the recommendations for the rest. Senator Jones, Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My highly respected colleagues, James Manager left us out. Mr. President, I want to thank the chairman of the committee for this very thorough job. The committee has done well. I don't want to bother myself about the findings, particularly DPRO and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources accusing one another. That is not my problem. My problem, Mr. President, is about, because this particular matter came up in the last Senate, I recall, and I thank God the chairman of the committee and the members, they have taken note of what happened in the 8th Senate. And, Mr. President, because this is Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, agreed is not a court of law, but then this is a pseudo-judicial function that we perform here on the floor of the Senate. And we want people to take us very seriously. The Department of Petroleum Resources is a government agency. It's a federal government agency. In the last Senate, there was a resolution on the floor of the Senate. DPR never, the DPR never took us very seriously. And therefore, the resolution of the Senate was thrown out by the DPR. Now, this is another Senate. This is another Senate. And after 4 years, this matter has come up again. And if you look at the recommendation of the committee, Mr. President, and my respected colleagues, I have every reason to be worried, so that this will not go the way of what happened in the last Senate. And therefore, as a Senate, if we are confirming the recommendations of the committee, something additional must be done, so that this will not come up again after this tenure, that this matter was taken in the 8th Senate, it was taken in the 9th Senate, but DPR never honored whatever that was recommended or confirmed by the Senate. That is my worry, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Yeah, Senator Sabi Ali Abdullahi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North. Mr. President, let me align myself in commending the chairman of the committee and his members for doing some good work in making this report. However, I have one or two concerns. First, while I agree with their findings that yes, the company actually was given the work, and DPR saying they are incompetent and they are not, I will not accept the fact that we should label DPR as incompetent because of this one project, which is what they said here emphatically, that the committee found that it was DPR that was actually incompetent. I feel whatever their shortcoming, as an agency of government, they must also be given their due, respect. I feel the use of the word incompetent because of this is too harsh. So I will want to say that they might be saying to be maybe negligent with respect to this, or ineffective with respect to this. But I think the aspect of competence, given the kind of work they do for the nation, I think it's too hard a judgment. Having said this, Mr. President, the other point I want to say is, for the records, there are a lot of allusion to payments for which the committee did not avail us of what those payments are, especially in the first part. I think giving us that kind of information will have added more weight to the fact that there was actually something going on. And maybe it's due to one or two other technical reasons, which unfortunately has not been stated here, that the payment stopped. Because some payments have been made, if I get the committee right. And if those payments have been made because they are not stated, we are not able to deduce why did the payment stop, leading to this crisis that the company is now seeking for payment. These are my only concern because the amount is really huge. But I agree that definitely where there is a contractual obligation to a company and the company has actually performed, then there is a duty on the part of that government agency to do the needful. And especially given the fact that in the 8th Senate this issue was tackled and it is now dragging, I believe we shouldn't allow this to happen. So I agree with your submission also that we must, in making any recommendation here, do it in such a manner that this will be taken care of. But I think the solution to this will be perhaps for the Senate Committee on Legislative Compliance, if we have finished whatever recommendations here, the committee should be urged to take up this matter and ensure that due diligence is done.
Chairman, let me find out from you. DPR appeared, didn't they? They appeared. What was responsible? You were not in charge. Oh, no, the last time it was Samuel Anyao. But what was the last recommendation, the 8th Assembly's recommendation?
Recommendation was for DPR to pay Riverine Technology 9,375,660,700 for work done. Because they prematurely terminated the contract on the basis of the fact that at the time the man was effectively on ground, he was doing the job and revenue significantly improved. When they now see that the collaborating in this industry see that this is going to reveal the atrocities of not declaring profit to the federal government, they terminated this man's contract. The 8th Senate
I think what is crucial is if there was a job that was done. Of course, before the job was done, there must have been an agreement between DPR and the company. What is the basis of the recommendation? Was it on the basis of what is the clauses in the agreement? or what happened? Because we need to get it right.
It was based on the clause of the agreement, and we are not magicians. We base all our decision on what is before the committee. They presented the same thing they presented in the 8th Senate. We found out that there are syndicates that don't want these people to complete the job. Ministry of Petroleum approve payments, and they give letter of recommendation to this contractor. But when they go to the third stage, they terminated, they failed to pay. And they said they can do it on their own.
In the agreement, is there any clause that gives an opt-out option for either at any time? Huh?
Mr. President, when the committee looked at this, and we found out that the river technology performed credibly, they even gave them letter of commendation. But the DPR are saying that the Minister of Petroleum Resources gave approval for payment to be made. We now ask them a question. You are the one to monitor, to ensure that these jobs are done. And it was completed, it was certified that out of 136 sites, 160 have been completely satisfied. And Minister of Petroleum gave approval. Then the people in DPR now said that they ought to be the one to give approval. And we now ask them, why don't you query your supervising minister when payments were made to...
But you see, I just want us to get this thing right so that we don't go through the same case of the 8th Assembly. Who signed the contract? Was it DPR or the Ministry of Petroleum Resources? The ministry. So DPR has no, you are not supposed to ask DPR to pay the money. Chairman, if it was the Ministry of Petroleum Resources that signed the agreement, the contract with this company, we have no business asking DPR to go and pay money. But, well, this is where I look at Senator Ibrahim Gobir.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. I think you have asked the right question, really. The first thing that we have to know is who signed that contract. Is it the DPR or the Ministry of Petroleum Resources? Then second thing is that in every contract, there must be option for either party to opt out. And in that kind of situation, we will know why they opt out. And I think it's important. Unless we are able to know that, then certain decisions cannot be taken.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President, my respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South. Mr. President, because I don't want this to go the way it went in the last Senate, I would rather prefer the committee providing further and better particulars, as we used to put it in law, in the courtroom, further and better particulars, so that when we have looked at everything and everything is okay, so that we now come out full force. As it is now, based on the questions, the technical questions you have asked, for which the chairman has also provided answers, it appears the chairman is not too sure of some of the answers he's providing. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I will want to move that it's better we take this back, because it's a very serious matter. It's a very serious matter. We are talking about 9.something billion naira. It's a lot of money. And because our own integrity is also at stake. Because it happened in the last Senate, and we don't want it to happen in this Senate at all. And therefore, it's better for us to provide further and better particulars. That is...
Chairman, you are raising...
Sir, the contract was executed with the ministry. But the DPR are meant to certify work done. And satisfactorily, the approvals for payment were made by the ministry. Ministry of Petroleum Resources. But the DPR people are now saying that the job is not well done. We will now ask them a question. Why were you not, at the time payment approval came from the ministry, Why didn't you object? They said because whatever the Oga says is final.
Chairman, I think eventually we have to go the route suggested. DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ovi Omoagege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I want to align myself, in the main with my brother, Senator James, the manager of the Senate, Delta United. I align myself with him with respect to the position he's taking. But having said that, Mr. President, I'm also wondering, given the amount involved here, frankly, this committee, even though not so expressly stated, is supposed to be handling things like small claims. It's more like a small claims court. I'm thinking that with this kind of amount, 9 billion naira against a government agency at a time when we're having challenges with resources to fund government, I think the issue of liability needs to be established. And I would think that that may be too much or too big an assignment, for this committee. I would like to propose that the issue of liability should be settled in the courts. No. Because see, there's a question he asked. We've not seen the contract documents. The possibility that there's a breach of that contract, is there. The possibility that there was non-performance is there. There's also a possibility that, like somebody did mention, an opt-out clause, is also there. Those things, Mr. President, I think they are too grave, to be handled in a small claims manner. That was just my suggestion. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, my position will be that first, this committee should withdraw this report as canvassed by Senator James Manager. Secondly, you need to cite the agreement. Who signed the agreement? What are the provisions in the agreement? Whether there are options that will allow any of the two sides to opt out. What are the penalties? And then, for me, when you confirm that it was the Ministry of Petroleum Resources that signed the agreement, the contract agreement, I don't think we would be right to ask DPR to pay the money. And wasn't there any consultant who should be certifying work done? So I think you need to take this report back. You have done quite good, but you need to make it better and see how we can arrive at a better resolution. Because just like Senator James Manager said, this thing was not respected. Our resolution in the S Assembly was not respected. Probably we didn't get it right. Let's exhaust all the possibilities of getting it right this time around. And then we can insist on compliance. So I think you can move.
The report is hereby withdrawn for further legislative action, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who seconds? Yeah, Senator Sabi Ali.
Mr. President, Ali Sabi Abdullah, Niger North, I second that the committee withdraw the report for further legislative action. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petitions, in respect of a petition from Mr. Kingsley Toru on behalf of Riverman Technologies Limited against the Department of Petroleum Resources for non-payment of the sum of 9.375 billion for contract executed, that this report be withdrawn for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, we'll go to the next report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second report is the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petitions in respect of petition from Mr. Olaniyan Shehu Muhib and other affected staff of Digital Bridge Institute, DBI, against the Institute for non-implementation of the directives of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as regards the staff of the Institute, whose appointments were terminated in March 2019. The Senate will recall that on Tuesday, 4th February 2020, Senator Akinere Ondo Central rose on Order 41 to lay petitions referred to his committee from the office of the President of the Senate, and drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Mr. Alani Shehu Muhib, another affected staff of the DGI Institute, against the Institute DBI for the non-implementation of the directives of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as regards the staff of the Institute whose appointments were terminated in March 2019, and urge the Senate to look into the matter. Mr. President, seek your indulgence to go to the findings and recommendations thereafter of the committee. On 5.0, observation and findings. After careful study, the oral and submission of Mr. Alani Shehu, the petitioner, and the respondent, Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC), and Digital Bridge Institute (DBI), the committee observed as follows: that Digital Bridge Institute was incorporated under the Company Allied Matters Act 2004 as a private company limited by guarantee, which confers on it the status of legal personality distinct and independent from its members, and can sue and be sued. 2, that the incorporation of the institute was promoted by the Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC), who thereafter recruited and deployed the first set of staff from 2003 to 2010 to the institute, which letters of employment and NCC condition of service. 3, that those appointments were subsequently ratified by DBI through letters of recommendation issued to the staff by the institute. 4, that up to 2005, the staff of NCC, Nigeria and the institute enjoyed the same salaries and allowances, but the institute decision to stop the salary structure of the NCC and introduce its own condition of service was resisted by the staff, and some of the staff took both NCC and DBI to National Industrial Court for adjudication, and the court's decision was that the staff were that of the institute. 5, that based on the court judgment, and in order to maintain industrial harmony, the board of the institute encouraged the staff to accept 50% increase in salaries and allowances with payment of arrears from 2016 in order to placate them, and also directed them to sign the institute condition of service, since the court had declared them staff of the institute. That the staff were given 14 days within which to accept the offer or face termination of their appointment. 7, that consequent upon number 6 above, the staff who refused to accept the institute's condition of service at the expiration of 14 days were subsequently relieved of their appointment. Recommendation. Based on the findings above, the committee hereby recommends that the Senate do urge the Digital Institute to reinstate Mr. Alani Muhib, another affected staff of the Digital Institute (DBI), and pay all their outstanding salaries and allowances up to 2019, in accordance with the NCC staff condition of service 2003, which was the contractual document they signed at the point of their engagement in the service of NCC and later DBI. 2, that the Senate to urge Mr. Alani Muhib and other affected staff of the Digital Bridge Institute to accept and sign the staff condition of service of Digital Bridge Institute if they desire to continue their service with DBI, because the DBI is a corporate legal entity that can sue and be sued in his own name. And finally, that the Senate do urge the Digital Bridge Institute that after the payment of the outstanding salaries and allowances to Mr. Alani Shehu Muhib and other affected staff, further payment of salaries and allowance to his staff should be based on the condition of service of the institute. Mr. President, I so move.
Any comments? We'll go to the recommendations then. Recommendation 1, that the Senate do urge the Digital Bridge Institute (DBI) to reinstate Mr. Olani Shehu Muhib and the other affected staff of Digital Bridge Institute (DBI) and pay all their outstanding salaries and allowances up to 2019 in accordance with the NCC Staff Conditions of Service 2003, which was the contractual document they signed at the point of their engagement in the service of NCC and later DBI. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Recommendation 2, that the Senate do urge Mr. Olani and Sheikh Muhib and other affected staff of Digital Bridge Institute DBI to accept and sign the staff conditions of service of the Digital Bridge Institute DBI if they desire to continue their service with DBI, because the DBI is a corporate legal entity that can sue and be sued in its own name. Those in favor of recommendation 2, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. And recommendation 3, that the Senate do urge the Digital Bridge Institute DBI that after the payment of the outstanding salaries and allowances to Mr. Olani and Sheikh Muhib and other affected staff, further payment of salaries and allowances to the staff should be based on the staff conditions of service of the institute. Those in favor say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, go to the next report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third report of the Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petitions in respect of a petition from Mr. Isa Usman Quini on behalf of 126 retired officers of Nigerian Post Authority MPA against the Nigerian Post Authority MPA for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100 of 280% of their gratitude benefit by the authority since 2018. Preambles. Mr. President, the Senate will recall that on Tuesday, 4th February 2020, the chairman of this committee rose under Order 41 to lay petition referred to his committee from the office of the President of the Senate and drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Mr. Isa Quini and three others on behalf of 126 retired officers of the Nigerian Post Authority MPA against Nigerian Post Authority for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100 of 280% of their gratuity benefit by the Nigerian Post Authority since 2018, and urge the Senate to look into the matter. Mr. President, after careful submission from both the managing director and that of the petitioners, the committee have the following observation and findings to present to the Senate for approval. After careful studying the oral and written submissions of Mr. Isa Usman Quini and the managing director of Nigerian Post Authority MPA, Hadisa Bala Usman, the committee observed as follows. 1. That the 280% new gratitude policy in the Nigerian Post Authority, approved for implementation by the board on 12 July 2018, negated the 300% gratitude payment as provided for by the Pension Reform Act 2014 and MPA Condition of Service 2018 edition. 2. That what was actually negotiated for between the two staff unions of the authority employees, the management, and the board was 300% gratuity adjustment, which they presented and defended in the National Assembly and got approval for appropriation in 2020 budget of the Federation. 3. That the amount provided in 2018 budget for gratuity was a projection, and the authority of MPA was only able to achieve 75% of its revenue target for that year, because 2018 was a recovery period from the 2017 national economic recession, thus making it impossible to pay 300% full gratuity to retired staff in the accordance with Section 5.2 of the Pension Reform Act 2014. 4. That the Nigerian Board of Management had agreed to work with the relevant oversight committee in the National Assembly and the Budget Office of the Federation to capture the outstanding balance of 1,160,702,309 naira 53 kobo as demanded by the pensioners, and the balance of gratuity from 1st January to 11 July 2018 in the 2021 supplement budget to be presented to the National Assembly for approval and payment to all affected staff who retire from the service of MPA. And 5, that in addition, MPA has agreed to pay the difference between 280% paid and the full 300%, which was presented, defended, and approved by the National Assembly in 2018 budget to all its workers who retired from the service from 1st January 2018 to date. A recommendation. Based on the findings above, Mr. President, the committee hereby recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate do urge the Nigerian Post Authority to pay the balance of 1,107,681,908 naira 11 kobo, which is the difference between the old 180% that was paid and the new 280% that was not fully paid to officers who retired from 1st January to 11 July 2018. 2. that all retired staff from 1st January 2018 be paid 20% outstanding gratuity as demanded by the pensioners and consented to be paid by NPA management, amounting to 224,098,435 naira 73 kobo, in line with the provisions of 2018 Appropriation Act, the Pension Reform Act, and in accordance with the 2018 NPA Condition of Service. And finally, that the NPA should capture the above payment amounting to 1,361,780,343 naira and 84 kobo in the 2021 supplementary budget to be presented to the relevant Government of National Assembly for consideration and approval to effect the payment as agreed with the Senate Committee on Ethics for implementation. Mr. President, I so move. Thank you.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. This is fairly straightforward, and in my humble view, the recommendations 2 and 3 are key. 2 is talking about like a consent judgment. The petitioners have agreed, and those petitioned, they have also agreed on a particular figure. So that makes our job very easy. That is paragraph 2 of the recommendations. Then the paragraph 3, which is the final paragraph, Mr. President, is due diligence on the part of the Committee on Legislative Compliance, and of course the Committee on Marine Transport that is oversighting the activities of NPA, and the budget of NPA, quite natural, will come to that particular point. Once these things are complied, I think it's a very straightforward matter. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Senator Mohammed Njuma.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njuma, representing Government Central. Mr. President, I stand to give my support to the recommendations of this committee. I have discussed with the chairman, and we have indicated the willingness of the Committee on Marine to support whatever supplementary budget that will be presented to us in respect of this demand. So we are ready. Whenever they bring it, we'll approve that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Can we go to the recommendations? Recommendation 1, that the Senate do urge the Nigerian Port Authority NPA to pay the balance of 1,137,681,908 naira 11 kobo, which is the difference between the all 180% that was paid and the new 280% that was not fully paid to officers who retired from 1st January to 11th July 2018. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, that all retired staff from 1st January 2018 be paid 20% outstanding gratuity as demanded by the petitioners and consented to be paid by NPA management, amounting to 224,098,435 naira 73 kobo, in line with the provision of 2018 Appropriation Act, the Pension Reform Act, and in accordance with the 218 NPA Condition of Service. Those in favor of recommendation 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And recommendation 3, that NPA should capture the above payments amounting to 1,361,780,343 naira 84 kobo in the 2021 supplementary budget to be presented to the relevant committees of the National Assembly for consideration and approval to effect the payments as agreed with the Senate Committee on Ethics for implementation. Those in favor of recommendation 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Next report, Chairman.
Thank you once again, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The fourth report is the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, in respect of petition from Otto Sinwosu Esquire, on behalf of Deputy Controller of Customs, DC Idris Aloma, Zamdai, against Nigeria Consular Service for unlawful dismissal from service. The Senate will recall that on Wednesday, 8 July 2020, rising on order 14, Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, Bonu South, drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Otosi Wosu on behalf of DC Idris Aloma Zamdai against the Nigerian Customs Service for unlawful dismissal from service. And all decided to look into the matter. In line with Order 43, decided to refer the petition to the Committee on Ethics for further legislative action. Mr. President, the committee sat, invited both the petitioner and the respondent, and the following are the findings and observations of the committee. After carefully studying the written and oral presentation of the petitioner, Otto Sinwosu Esquire, and the respondent, the Nigerian Customs Service, the committee observed as follows. 1. That DC Idris Aloma Zamdai was actually queried and suspended on the 29th of August 2016 by the Nigerian Customs Service, a development that is at variance with the public service rules. A normal process would have been that a suspension should have come after a query has been answered. 2. That there were indications that DC Idris Aloma Zamdai was negligent in his duty in not confirming whether or not vehicles under his section of coverage were actually physically examined before certificates of examination were presented to them. Moreover, the examination and issuance of certificate of examination was conducted by officers under him. 3. That though the Nigerian Customs Service did not conduct investigation into the matter, there was no proof that DC Idris Aloma, who was recommended for further investigation by the Senior Staff Diplomatic Committee, actually faced the committee. 4. That as a result, the committee was unable to confirm that due process was followed by the Nigerian Customs Service in dismissing DC Idris Aloma Zamdai, and that because there was no evidence that DC Idris Aloma Zamdai was tried by the Senior Staff Diplomatic Committee headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Service, the committee is of the opinion that due process was not followed in dismissal of DC Idris Aloma Zamdai. Recommendation. Based on the above observation and findings, the committee recommends as follows. That since due process was not fully followed by the Nigerian Customs Service in dismissing DC Idris Aloma Zamdai from the service, he be reinstated and paid his salaries and other entitlement from the date he was dismissed. Having served for 32 years, till the date he should have retired and be retired. Conclusion, Mr. President, most distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the Committee on Ethics, People and Public Petition, I appreciate the Senate President and the Senate of the Assembly for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. I so submit.
Any comments? Senator Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Let me thank our chairman for a very good job as far as this report is concerned. And mine is to add that definitely the public service rules are very clear. I have not seen a situation where you issue a query and of course you've suspended the person even before he answers. What we are aware of is procedurally, of course you issue almost 3 queries before you even contemplate giving a suspension to somebody. And of course it depends on the magnitude of the offense. And since the committee has been able to establish that definitely due process has not been followed, definitely their recommendation is apt. Though I would have loved to see, for example, in the recommendation, when they are saying from the date he was dismissed, I'm sure they have that record. We should have been very specific on those dates, so that going further, there won't be any back and forth. And they also alluded to the fact that to the date he should have retired and be retired. These are all dates that from the petitioner's records and everything should have been there, so that it's more explicit. But beyond that, Mr. President, their recommendation is apt, and I definitely support it.
Can we go to the recommendation now? That since due process was not fully followed by the Nigeria Customs Service in dismissing DC Idris Aloma Zamdai from the service, he be reinstated and paid his salaries and other entitlements from the date he was dismissed, having served for 32 years to the day he should have retired and be retired. Those in favor of the recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Chairman. Leader of the Senate.
Colleagues, Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Mikhail Adetukumbo Abiru and 6 others on the urgent need for the rehabilitation of the Ikorodu Shagamu and Ikorodu Itokin Epe Road to further bridge the infrastructural gap and enhance economic growth in Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Abiru to move this motion.
Senator Adetukumbo Abiru.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I rise on behalf of my other distinguished colleagues as listed in the motion paper to move the motion for the urgent need for the rehabilitation of the Ikorodu Shagamu and Ikorodu Itokin Epe roads to further bridge the infrastructural gap and enhance the economic growth in Nigeria. The Senate, aware that roads indirectly contribute to the economic growth of a nation, and additionally, roads development brings social, cultural, and economic changes in the lives of the people in terms of providing connectivity between people and places, and does help in reducing poverty. The Senate further aware that in Nigeria, many roads are in bad shapes, leading to negative economic effects and total economic effect of such bad roads to the nation, the health of the citizens, operation of businesses, safety of lives and properties are unquantifiable. Mindful that the Ikorodu Shagamu Road, which starts from Ikorodu roundabout, terminating in Shagamu, Ogun State, and the Ikorodu Itokin Epe Road starts from Sabo in Ikorodu and equally terminates in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, are all federal roads. Further mindful that the Ikorodu Shagamu Road is an old alignment and is one of the busiest roads in the southwest zone, which was constructed in the 1960s before the construction of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, was a major route carrying traffic from Lagos towards the northern part of the country until the commissioning of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in 1978. Convinced that the Lagos-Shagamu Road still serves as a great commercial hub or route for the southwest, south-south, and indeed the whole nation, with several commercial ventures and educational institutions situated in that corridor, such as Lafarge Cement Company, NMPC Depot at Mosimi, PZ Industries, and several metal fabrication companies and other institutions of learning. Aware that the Ikorodu Itokin Road, also, which had previously been constructed by Messrs. Taylor Woodrow, Nigeria Limited, was completed and commissioned by the then Head of State, General Yakubu Gowon, in 1975. Further aware that over the years, communities which had previously been off the road alignment expanded closer to the road and eventually prevented proper drainage and allocation of water. Thus, the rapid deterioration of the pavement, particularly at locations where petrol stations are sited. Note that the road pavement has outlived its service life, considering the increased truck axle load and volume, as well as rapid urbanization of the communities, along the alignment with the attendant demand for infrastructural upgrades. Further note that the past and continuous volume of traffic on the road has caused a lot of damages on the road corridor. In some part of the road, the existing surface dressing is fully eroded and traffic has shifted to the shoulders. The condition of the road creates so much discomfort to the road users, and it also leads to longer travel time. Persuaded that the rehabilitation of Ikorodu-Shagamu and Ikorodu-Itoki-Epe roads will facilitate easy transfer of goods and services between the interconnecting towns and adjacent states of the country, and maintaining and increasing the economic activities along the project corridor. Concerned that currently a subsisting federal government contract for the rehabilitation of the Ikorodu-Shagamu road, which was awarded on 5th June 2018 with a completion period of 36 months and with a value of 20.8 billion, is being executed by Messiah's Arab Contractors, Nigeria Limited, has only attained 24% completion due to lack of funding. Further concerned that in spite of the importance of the Ikorodu-Itoki-Epe road, successive administrations have not deemed it fit to rehabilitate or upgrade this road 46 years later, even though periodically the Lagos and Ogun State governments have repeatedly carried out rehabilitation works on different sections of the road due to the neglect of federal agencies. Assured of the importance of these roads to our nation's economic growth, because they are access points from other parts of the country, Ogun, Edo, and northern parts of the country, and also routes to new Lekki-Ibeju corridor, where we have the Dangote Refinery, Lagos Deep Sea Port, and the Lagos Free Trade Zone, etc. And further assured of the urgent need to rehabilitate these roads to further bridge the huge infrastructural gaps in the country, to boost economic development, as it will provide an alternative access route to Lagos. And convinced that an investment in the reconstruction and proper maintenance of Nigerian roads at all levels will enormously ease road transportation of goods and services and improve on the standard of living of the citizens through addressing the issue of unemployment. Accordingly, resolves to mandate the Senate Committee on Works and Housing to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to include further funding for the rehabilitation of the Ikorodu-Shagamu road in the 2022 appropriation bill. 2, provide appropriate funding for the reconstruction of the Ikorodu-Itoki-Epe road in the 2022 appropriation bill. B, also direct the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to explore the possibility of other financing sources in order to accelerate the completion of both roads. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Senator Bikula Amosu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ibikunle Amosu, I represent Ogun Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me first commend the efforts of Senator Abiru for bringing up this motion. Mr. President, I think he has captured the essence of the importance and the strategic nature of the road under question. Mr. President, this road is very, very important, not just for those that has been catalogued here in this motion, because of the strategic economic importance of that road. This is the road where we have Mosimi. He has listed the cement industry that is there. He has listed all the other, many industries that are in the Ikorodu and Shagamu axis. But, Mr. President, I want to point out that all the fuel being used throughout, probably, maybe outside even Lagos, even from Lagos too, because aside from Atlasco, that is where they pump from and that's where they take, including up to maybe Ondo, Kwara, and all of those. So the percentage of the fuel being pumped from that place, being used every day, it's probably about 6% in those areas where I've mentioned. Mr. President, when I came in as governor, when I had the opportunity of representing my people, serving my people in Ogun State, I wrote a letter to the then President Jonathan that they should seed this road for us in Ogun State. Indeed, it wasn't just the only road that I wrote. I wrote the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I included this road. I wrote the Aton-Agbara Road. I wrote the interchange Papalanto Road. And they wrote back to me to say that because of the security implication and the strategic importance of those roads, they can't cede it to the state government. Mr. President, I've read all the, I've read all the four that the request of this motion. I've read all the four. But I want to say, when we get to, maybe when we are considering all of the prayers and the motion, I will want to add that what we quickly finish this road is for the federal government to cede this road to the state government. Because this is one road that if and when it's allowed to be told, in fact, everybody is willing, they are ready. Entrepreneurs, even if they said today they've ceded the road to Ogun State, I know the road will be quickly fixed. Just like all the other roads that has been done. As we speak today, from Lusada to Igbesa, under PPP, because it was for Ogun State, it has been completed. Indeed, on that same road that you just mentioned, this road that we are considering, in 2018, February, I awarded that road, and I started that same road. Then federal government came up in March to say that they will do that road. So I ceded the road to them. The rest is history, what has happened to that road. It's been demonstrated. If you look from the express to where this road starts from, an 11-kilometer road has been done with flyover. Well done by PW, Messrs. PW. If we have not been stopped as of that time, by now, this road will have been done to the border of Lagos State with Ogun State. So, Mr. President, yes, I want to support all the prayers in this motion. But most importantly, the prayer that is missing here is to urge the Federal Ministry of Work to see this road to the state government. When that is done, this road can pay itself in maybe record time. Because every day, if you know the numbers of trailers, of tankers, of even vehicles plying that road, you will know that this is one road that the federal government, they have their hands full. They should see all of this road to states, and states will go into PPP with people that can quickly fix this road. Mr. President, I so submit, and I want to commend the removal of this motion once again.
Senator Solomon Adiola, Olamile.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamilekun, representing Lagos West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, let me also commend the mover of this motion, and also the contributor to this motion. Mr. President, this is another very important interstate road. It is very strategic in nature because it serves as an alternate road to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And I strongly believe that the continuous attempt by the government of the day or by federal government to continue to hold on to this road without carrying out the necessary rehabilitation and reconstruction of that road will continue to have an adverse economic effect on the states which this road has been very useful to. For instance, because of the current state of this road, all factories, all companies along that axis have abandoned their factories or relocated out of that place. If you see in the body of the motion that attempts were made by the government to rehabilitate this road, that is Ikorodu-Sagamu Road, at a cost of 20.4 billion naira. And as we speak, only 24.49% of that road has been done. And looking at the years in which this contract has been awarded till now, is a cause for concern. And I strongly believe that it is high time for the federal government to take two important decisions. One, either we see this road back to the state that this road cut across, especially Lagos and Ogun State. Because I know with joint collaboration between the state government, they can carry out the rehabilitation and reconstruction of this road and recover their money through towing of that road. Secondly, the federal government to start looking at alternative source of funding for the construction of this road through PPP arrangements. Because major roads in Ogun and Lagos are basically federal government roads. And we should start politicizing ways by this road should be maintained. We should start looking at better ways of providing funding for all these roads, which I prefer, either ceding it to the government of the day of both states that is affected, or looking at the option of public-private partnership, which is the PPP. Because this access road cuts across Lagos, Ogun, all the way to Benin and to the northern part of the country. Even Delta. And he has even stated in the body of the motion some of the economic benefits. Now, today, in the Lekki Beju axis, there is a massive construction of Dangote refinery going on. And it needs this feeder road for it to properly function. And in doing that, there is urgent need for government to intervene in the reconstruction and rehabilitation of this road that we are talking about. And it is my hope that this motion, because according to the prayers, he has asked for further funding in the budget. But the one that was even allotted or given before in the previous budget, what happens to them? If a contract of 20.4 billion given to Arab contractors, looking at the number of years, only 24% funding, is it that they have abandoned it? Is it that there is nobody monitoring? Or money has not been provided for this? All of this we need to investigate. And I strongly believe that with the support of this Senate, this Ikorodu, Itokin, Ekpe, Shagamu road will be seriously looked into by the federal government. And in the next budget, that will be considered by this Senate, so that we can give this road the necessary attention it deserves. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Nicholas Tofomo.
Thank you, our Senate President. I'm happy you called me to say one or two things about this. Roads in Nigeria are under serious pressure. And it's not only peculiar to roads in Lagos State and Ogun State, it's all over the country. Our federal government has started taking some beautiful steps. From Lagos to Ibadan, there's a meaningful rail system that is functioning, which is a plus to federal government. But we have to look beyond that. There should be east-west rail system that will come from Lagos to Shagamu, Shagamu to Ore, Ore to Benin, Benin to Onitsha, Onitsha to Aba, Aba to Port Harcourt. If we can put that east-west rail in place, there will be less pressure on our roads, and it will have a beautiful meaning. So that the road we are talking about now will be less pressurized. Also, if we look at coastal line coming from Lagos State to Ondo State, to Delta State, to River State, and to Cross Rivers, that will ease a lot of pressure on our roads. It will surprise you. If you go by road from Lagos State to my senatorial district, it will take you 4 hours. But if you go with Okada from Lagos along the coastal line to Ondo State, it will take you only 35 minutes. So we should put more funding on our rail system. If our rail system continues to function properly, there will be less pressure on this road. Because by the time you are putting 20 billion, 30 billion on roads, let us package a meaningful rail system in Nigeria, and it will put pressure off our roads. That's my opinion, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the prayers of the motion. Prayer number 1, mandate the Senate Committee on Works and Housing to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. There is no committee on works and housing in the Senate. These are two different committees. Are we saying the housing committee, the housing ministry has something to do with the committee on works only? Is that okay? So, Deputy Minority Leader, we remove the housing. Mandate the Senate Committee on Works to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to include further funding for the rehabilitation of the Ikorodu-Shagamu Road in the 2022 appropriation bill. Those in favor of this, again, provide appropriate funding for the reconstruction of the Ikorodu-Itokin-Epe Road in the 2022 appropriation bill. Those in favor of prayer 1 as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have. Prayer 2, urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to explore the possibility of other financing sources in order to accelerate the completion of both roads. In addition to the appropriation, is that what you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Additional prayers, please.
No prayer yet, please. I'm just trying to find out, because you have asked for appropriation, and then you are asking for some other money to be brought from where? Because appropriation is still supposed to come to the National Assembly. What other funding sources would they have?
Okay.
Who is going to explain this? Okay, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because part of, beyond the appropriation, I also think that part of what you find at play in the Ministry of Works is that they use other combination of funding to back up some of their projects like Sukuk, at times. So that is part of this.
But we have to approve this, and we shouldn't encourage the executive to be taking money just like that without the approval of the National Assembly. Because if you say they should go and find, it's supposed to be money, whatever it is, we have to approve it. So I think the first prayer should suffice. Instead of saying they should look for money without our appropriation, that is what it means. I don't know, Senator Bikule Amosu. Additional prayer, Senator Amosu.
That we urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to cede that road to the two state governments.
I think that contradicts what we have done, because if they said we cannot appropriate money, yes, because if we're asking them to see it, then we shouldn't appropriate money there. Yeah.
Government. Because nothing will happen. I'm speaking from experience. We have demonstrated this over and over and nothing is happening. They caused an Ogun State, because all the federal roads that have been done, they were affected by the state governments, not by federal government.
Okay, I need a seconder. Senator Adiola Olamileko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague Adiola Solomon Olamileko. I rise to second the motion as moved by Senator Ibikunle Amosun. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Senator Issa Jibrin.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my additional prayer has a little bit of background, and that has to do with the maintenance culture of these roads in Nigeria. Most of these roads were constructed many years.
What is the additional prayer?
Urge the federal government to significantly improve on the funding to FEMA to enhance the level of intervention by the agency.
That is too wide open. It's not tied to any specific thing.
Background to this additional prayer is that we have poor maintenance culture in Nigeria. That is why most of these roads constructed many years ago have deteriorated, and it is easier to maintain than to reconstruct. So
Okay. Any seconder, please. Professor Nora Ladi Dadut.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I am Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau State. I do.
You are just a second his additional prayer, the motion. Thank you very much. Those in favor of the additional prayer by Senator Issa Jibrin, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Additional prayer, Senator Leko Mustafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. The additional prayer I want to propose is more like an amendment to prayer 1B, which says, provide appropriate funding for the reconstruction of the Korodu-Itoikin-Ekwe road. But for the purposes of clarity, the road is Ikorodu-Itoikin-Ijebu-Ode road. The turning to Ekwe is like a spur to the road. Therefore, it should be properly stated that provide appropriate funding for the reconstruction of the Ikorodu-Itoikin-Ekwe road.
No. We are supposed to have additional prayer. We've already passed that. I didn't get it. Are you the concluding part? No, so how is the additional prayer supposed to be?
The Ikorodu-Itoikin-Ekwe road, the concluding part of the road, which is Itoikin to Ijebu-Ode, should be added to the road, to the reconstruction.
I need a seconder. I want something different. The deputy Senate leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the additional prayer moved by Senator Mustafa. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, given the mood of the Senate, I rise to move a motion for the standing down of all other items remaining on our today's agenda to another legislative day. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of the remaining items on the other paper till another legislative day, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move another motion for this distinguished chamber to adjourn until Tuesday, 4th May 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do adjourn to May 4th, Tuesday at 10 a.m. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, the 4th day of May 2021 at 10 a.m. from say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till Tuesday, the 4th day of May 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.